Hello, wow, I got a little bit of a froggy voice. So welcome everyone. I hope you can hear me. And I'm glad that you're here today for our majestic horse painting. You get a little preview of this week's Pastel Insider lesson. I'll say hello to everyone. Hi, Ari. Laura's here. Cheryl's here. Suzanne. Laura, Michelle. Oh, thanks for the wonderful birthday wishes, Laura. I did have a good birthday. It was on Groundhog's Day, so it was just on Sunday. So it was really good. Hi, Loretta and Chris. And Crystal's here. I don't know. I was trying to figure out who you were talking to, Crystal. It was only showing your chat up. So I was like, oh, there's something going on. Hello, Magda. Adrian's here. Janelle, welcome everyone. So glad that you're here. And I'm glad that you guys have all showed up. I've had about a week off where I did my birthday, and then my oldest son, he turned 20. And so we celebrated his birthday the Friday before. And so it was a big thing of birthdays. And I needed to recharge and relax, so that was really nice. And so I'm glad to be back. I'm a little rusty, but I'm getting back into it. And we have a lot to talk about today. Oh, good. I'm glad you love horses. I know a few of you have been really wanting to do a horse, and I thought that would be a lot of fun this week. Hi, Peg. Welcome. We got Diane here. So glad that you're here. Bonjour. I actually have a French word we're going to be talking about today. I probably won't be able to pronounce it. I tried to practice, but it's chiaroscuro. But chiaroscuro, yeah. So that basically is dramatic lighting. It's light, and I guess chiaro is light and dark is scuro. So it's definitely something that's been used by a lot of the masters in Renaissance painting to really have that bold lighting. I have always been really attracted to very bold contrast. And you can see that in my work ever since I begun, but I've been really getting obsessed with light more and more. So I'm really excited to be able to share that a little bit with you today. All right, we got Katie here. Luis is here. Hi, Luis. Cameron's here. Hello. That's my hubby. He's downstairs. So glad that you're here, Cameron. You've always been such a big support. And so we'll get started here while you guys are all rolling in. We got quite a few of you here starting off, a lot of horse lovers. We got like 28 of you here in chat. Feel free to say hi. This is a great time to ask questions or anything like that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about where I'm at, why people keep rolling in, and then I'll be able to just start diving into what I'm going to be focusing on with you guys today. So in the Pastel Insider membership, this lesson's already started and you're getting a peek of, a part of it. So we've already talked a little bit about setting everything up and what I'm working on, but I will go over a brief overview of what I'm using today. So I'm on a 12 by 16, and the reason why I'm liking to work with a 12 by 16 is number one, they work great for lives. They give you a close-up view when I'm teaching. I'm not working really small. So if I went small with this down to a 9 by 12, I would have to work a lot tighter with like pencils. And I really love working with my oval soft tool. And this size really lets me do everything I want with one tool. I'm not switching in between tools. I'm not having to use pencils a lot. It's just a really great size to work with. It might be a little overwhelming, but I think working with this size is more of a beginner to intermediate is great too, just because you get to not feel like you're so tight in how you're working, and it allows you to, really get the feel of the medium. And I think if you get the tinier you go, the harder paintings are. I used to do a ton of minis, and I think those should cost a lot more than some of the big ones sometimes because they just take a lot of work. So I'm using PanPastel. PanPastel is a high pigmented soft pastel. It's very unique. It comes in these makeup type pans, and I am in love with them. The new colors are coming out. I put that into my newsletter today, that they are on sale at Merry Artists, so you can go check that out. I think I have the link to Merry Artists down below. and you can get them. I'm pretty stoked about it because I'm going to do some videos for sure, but it's what I predicted. The gaps that needed to be filled, they're going to be filling them. And one is, you know, that I am really excited about is like in between the core color. I call the main colors the core colors because they're all made up in families. So like right here, I have almost a whole family. You have a tint, a core, which is just, you know, burnt sienna without a tint or a shade word in it. And then I have the shade, and then there's the extra dark. And you get the lights by putting white in to a core, and you get the shade and the extra dark by putting blacks in. So the cool thing about the new colors coming out is if you can do less mixing, you get more vibrancy. And there is a gap in between this tint and the core color, and they're filling those gaps, and they're adding a lot of colors that are missing. So I am thrilled. All right, let's see here. We got Lynn here. Hello. She loves horses. She had a half Arabian and half quarter horse as a kid. I had a horse too growing up, Lynn. It's a special experience. Oh, good. Yep, they added some new families. They got like 5 new families coming in. We got, yeah, so I'm pretty excited about the new colors. I'm on the list. I'm on with all you guys. So as soon as I get them, I'm definitely going to be doing some videos because I definitely have the words of how they're going to fit in and why they're important. And golden is really amazing with color, as we all know. So having them take it over is actually really showing to be a good thing because I think they're going to fill a lot of gaps that the line needs. All right, let's see. Okay, so what I got here is we're on the UArt 600 grade sanded pastel paper. This makes a huge difference in your experience. This paper allows me to do what I do. It took a lot of hunting down and all of that, but this is why I love this paper. So if you're using any different type of paper, you're going to have a different experience. Hey, Francine's here. There you go. I knew you'd be happy with the horse. That's awesome. So glad that you're here. So with this horse, I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're at right now is the chiaroscuro, however you pronounce it, chiaroscuro. I wrote it down and everything. I don't think I'm doing too bad with that. That type of lighting is where you really have a bold direction, and then the whole thing I want it to really bring out looks like the inspiration of the horse when I was drawing it up is that it looks sculptured. I like that whole sculpture vibe. I like the 3D vibe. I like the strong lighting. And what that's going to play into is contrast. So we talk a lot about values in my classes and lessons. And contrast is a product of using value in a very strong way. So right here you can see that this is going to be our darkest part of the horse. And our light is hitting down off the forehead and off the bridge of the nose. So that's cascading down, and we're going to have this dramatic lighting. So we're going to use the background because our focal point is right here where our eye is, and a focal point, when you divide up a painting into thirds, you're going to get these focal points. I think I left that out here. I love showing this when I can. It is pretty cool. But this is the division of focal points. If I down the lighting a little bit here, you'll be able to actually see it. Just a second. You can kind of see the lines on there. So this is this 12 by 16 divided into thirds, and each one of these is a focal point. So when you're doing a focal point, you can see that my eye here is put into that focal point. This area down here by the mouth is also a focal point. And then we have these 2 spots where the flowers are a focal point, and then down here is a focal point. So we're going to put a lot of contrast in this area, and it's going to really pop that head to be the center of attention. And that's what we're going to be doing is you're using contrast. So we have the extra dark right here, and an extra dark in here, and then that is going to really build a lot of contrast in here. We're also building contrast between this really bright and this background right here. So it's a lot about contrast, and then you're forming and shaping that along the way. Let's see here. Adrian got the 600 paper. Awesome. That's great news, Adrian. I'm so happy for you. April says when the new pans come out, you're using them. Will you still help with mixing for those of us who can't afford them? Of course, of course. I totally will be. You're going to get the hang of that because mixing is so basic once you understand the core is that you have a core color in every family. And to make a tint, you add white. To make it dark, you're going to add black into the core. So you'll definitely be able to do that. Let's see. Michelle says, I'm happy there are new colors, but I don't think I'll be getting them anytime soon. The 80 set cost me $700 in Australia. My niece is going to Michigan in May. Oh yeah, hopefully you can get them from your niece. That would be great. Okay, you guys, we got you all rolled in here. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about my color choices and start putting some color in here. So initially, when I was mapping this out, I don't always have my colors planned. And even if I do, they can change along the way. So blue and orange are complementary on the color wheel. So I'm using kind of this turquoise blue with the orange. I also want to bring violet in because that's, you know, I rainbow things out. So I want some toned down violets. And then I also wanted some greens, and I'm going to tell the students, the people who are in the Pastel Insiders right now, that I erased some of these out and then supported them with my carbon pencil for more staying power. And I am now, instead of using, I had a bright yellow green in here, I think going in more of a green with more blues in it, this permanent green I'm using the shade, and that is going to give me where it's a little bit closer to turquoise family than using something like this, which is a warmer green. And I felt like this was too warm for what I wanted to do, because you can see when you go into shadows, you want to go cool with your colors as much as you can, even though the one in the cheeks and here, I'm going to play with this, but I wanted the flowers to kind of match the mane, because you're creating some color harmony. And because the orange and the blues are complementary, you're playing with those and intermingling them, and that's my goal. So I didn't want these greens to stick out so much, so I'm shifting my green color. And so I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to get warmed up, because it's always good to do. I have been painting today, but I'm just going to, wherever you hit first with your color, it's going to be the brightest. So up on this, I want this neck to be where it is the brightest point, or it's right here. We did a bit of a value study in the lesson, and if you do want this full lesson, and all of my lessons that I do each week, they come with the line art, they come with all of the assets, all of the details, all of the videos step by step, so you can follow along and create your own. And if you want, I will put that in my chat here, so you can, if you're interested in learning more about becoming a Pastel Insider, you can check it out. So I will pin that, and that is a membership, and it's just a great deal to be able to go in there and try out different things and see what speaks to you. But this lesson, I'm going to go and I'm going to bring in this. I'm using the shade. I don't want this to be too bright because I'd rather bring it up. And I'm going to bring in this permanent green into this foliage. Now, I love to add my own whimsical twist. I love flora and fauna. It's a part of my style. It's part of who I am, and I just can't help myself. I got to incorporate that. But you know, if you're doing this lesson and you want to simplify it, or you don't like the flowers in the horse, you can just leave them out. You don't have to put those in there, and you can make it fit more of what you like. But I definitely like putting that into my work. It's just who I am, and it really makes it fun for me. I like to change things up. So this is a really dark area, and I'm okay with that. I'm putting this in, and I am going to add some black down the way where I can tone it down. So it's going to be bright for right now, but I'm going to go in and just get these leaves to pop. And I think this color is way better than what I had initially chosen. I also was playing with the idea of using the this color, the phthalo green, but I just think I like this permanent green a lot better. So, you know, you got to be open to kind of going back and forth. And the cool thing is you can erase. There's nothing that's permanent in any of this. And that's what I'm really trying to convey to you guys, is that this medium is very, very versatile. So I'm going to go in here. I got these kind of going in, and I'm going to show you how I can tone them down. I'm just going to tap a little bit of black, and I can mix that in here, and that's going to tone down what is in here. Now, black goes really far, so you have to maybe go in between the two and go back and forth to kind of get that value just where you want it. And, you know, that takes probably the, you know, whole journey is to go back and forth. It's all a dance. You know, I'm not trying to speed paint or get through it really quick. So I can take into these little areas. I had some ultramarine in and push the darks in because I really want this spot. This is the darkest spot. Let's see here. Hey, Stacy's in the house. That's awesome. Welcome, Stacy. Howdy, howdy. Oh man. Wish you could get the new palette, but maybe next year. Hey, there's no rush. You can do so much with, I mean, look at how many colors I have, you guys. This, I could, okay, here's something to really think about. Since I got you all here and we're talking about color, I don't want anyone to feel left out. They can't go get those new colors. You know, getting the main colors is huge. You can do everything with basic sets. So if I was limited and I only had a few colors, what would I do here? I would literally take all these out. I'm going to show you the ones I would take out. So I could do this whole painting with just those colors. Now, what makes me put colors in the color palette is how much I'm going to be tapping into them. I thought I might want the tint to the burnt sienna. Can I make tint super easy? Yes. That isn't really detrimental. So I have the burnt sienna tint. You do not need the burnt sienna tint because all you need is white and burnt sienna, and that'll pop. Now, I did a lot of this mane and everything with the burnt sienna core, but I have the shade in there. Just because I'm using a lot of it, I might not even tap into it while we're here. Now, I do love this turquoise. Now, with every color you do mix, you do lose saturation. So some people were saying, I've seen them in Facebook, my work isn't being as bright as yours. And that takes time because when you learn to mix, if you're over mixing and you're not putting that saturation back in with the core color, then you can lose saturation in that. So you really only need the one, I mean, you could even get away without the magenta extra dark, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 colors. So it's totally fine. You know, you're going to be able to do a lot with what you have. And the new colors, when I get them, I'm going to say what slot they are. So I do think that if you can buy, maybe I'll be able to call out some of the really important ones. Like I think the red and the magenta and some of, you know, those types, like you're getting pinks that you don't have in your palette. So whenever I do a pink, I get a dull pink because it's not here in its pure form. This is as close to pink as I have in the whole palette. And red is the other thing. So having that next color up are game changers. So even if you just buy 1 or 2, I think that could really go a long way. So I'll be talking a ton about that as we go. Hi, Karen. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so I have this permanent green. I'm just working on getting this in here into the shadow areas. And then what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to really talk about this contrast and using shadow and light. And we're going to work on some of the hair today, this mane. And I call it hair because once you do hair on a person, you can do hair almost anywhere. Like once you get that thing down, it's going to start becoming like second nature to you. So we're just getting this established, and then I'll go in and play with the mane, and I'm going to show you how we're going to develop some of that in a little bit more of a 3-dimensional look. And I've gotten the basics in there, so that is going to really give us some good foundation. And the other spot is I want to tone down this cheek just a hair. And so you can see how I have that violet on there, and I'm looking over on my computer screen because I love seeing it on my screen. I'm tapping in a little bit of the black in a couple of the areas. I don't want it to be super thick. Now I'm wiping it off. It's so strong that you got to be careful. I can even put a little bit of magenta on my wand if I feel like it's going too strong. But I need to take some of this values down just a little bit. It's a little, this area, I really want it to be in the shadow, because if it's being hit on the face, this is going to be more of a glowing area, not as bright of an area. So I'm going to tone this down, and I'm going to put a little bit of black on to where this is coming down on each other, and it won't be as hard of a line. And that, you know, that's the other thing when you're trying to create like bold shadows and everything, you're trying to smooth out certain areas. And I can load the edge, and I can put, you know, lines in, because there is, you know, the horse is cranking its neck right there. So if my vision was like I'm sitting on the horse and the horse is looking back at me, when I was horseback riding when I was younger, this is kind of the view when you're the rider. So well, I mean, he's really arched, but I always like to make things dramatic. But yeah, so I'm just getting that in there, and then just getting some of my values corrected. So these flowers on the cheek might be a little bit strong, but I'm okay with that. I can tap in some of my turquoise in here just to balance it out a little bit. And then I want to bring down a little bit of this with turquoise right here. And I'm going with the turquoise shade, and then I can have the turquoise. And then I can tap that down and create a little bit. You're just trying to get that neck skin to look a little bit realistic there. All right. Wow, everyone is here. I was driving for a bit and missed saying hi to everyone. I missed you all and haven't been around much. Well, I'm so glad that you're here, Francine. Okay, Crystal says she struggles with hair in all art forms. Well, we'll have a little moment with hair today. And in the Pastel Insider, you get a lot of hair moments. So I love that you'll give us the top ones of the new pans. Excited for that. Awesome, April. That'll be great. I'm glad that you like that. Okay, so glad that everyone's back. I'm chat forward, so I want to make sure everyone's been seen and recognized in chat. So I got that cheek toned down a little bit. And what I'm going to go do is I think I'm going to pop in a few spots of this burnt sienna in some spots in here. Oh, I meant to go up in the top there. It's okay. It can be blended in. See, nothing's permanent of the light and how it hits. And you know, I think a lot of new people might be a little bit cautious to wipe their wand off consistently. You're not wasting the product. It lasts for a long time. So I think not being so scared. I'm going into the turquoise shade right now. I'm going to put a little bit of that around here and bring this down before I start working on the hair, just to get warmed up. But cleaning my wipe, whenever I go out of view here, I'm basically wiping my wand off, and I try to voice it a lot, but I don't know if people really realize how much I'm wiping my wand off. And I think that makes a big difference in like not having mud. So like right now I might have a little bit there extra that I didn't use, but I'm just going to wipe that off, and then I can mix and blend. So I haven't tapped into colors yet, and now I can blend those two together. And if I start seeing it contaminate too much where I don't really like it, then I wipe it off again. And then I can go tap back into the turquoise and have more of a pure color go down. So I'm constantly going back and forth And I can tap into, now I just wiped off my wand, and then I can go in and kind of start bringing in a little bit of this highlighting area that's going around. And then I can tap in some of the white. Now turquoise can blend out really easily, and so I have to put more of it back in to put my saturation back in, because blending it desaturates it. So when you're desaturating it, that is something that newer people might have a harder time with. So if I want to bring that saturation back in, I have to wipe off my wand, bring in some white. I could even do white and bring the turquoise in, and that's going to bring more of a turquoise thing here. So the whole time I'm going to be playing with this arch around here and bringing up this whole area that's going into light and rounding it out. Kind of, you know, a lot of this was inspired by like sculptures of horses, and I went to the Louvre and I went to Orsay in France, and it was pretty amazing being able to see all of those sculptures in person, like Michelangelo and all of that. So that, you know, I'm thinking that's kind of what this lighting really portrays too. Hi Agnes, welcome. So glad that you're here. So glad that you're popping in. It's been a while. Your turquoise looks very bright. Mine is almost like a gray. Well, I'm sure you have this one, which I'm popping that back in. If you use it on the paper, you have to have a thick enough application. So turquoise will gray out really easy. So I am loading my wand with that turquoise to really get that. I would say turquoise is probably the most difficult to keep its vibrancy. Here's an example. I'll just do some on the paper right here. Let's just go over here. And if I mix this down at all, it will look like a neutral gray on a black paper. So it looks like it's just part of that neutral family. So it actually, if I put it on the paper, on the black paper with it, it puts it almost into this shade and shadow range. And that is something you have to like play with turquoise. So I have to load this up, and if I really want that turquoise to pop, I have to put it down here and really, you know, build it up. I would say I would put a thicker application of turquoise on than some of the other colors, because right when I bump it down, it's going to go and kind of mute out a bit. So this one, they're going to have the next step up too, which I'm pretty excited about, because I'm always trying to bring it up in color, and then the saturation just dissipates. So you don't really get that turquoise color. So that's, you know, what hopefully that kind of helps a little bit. Now you can see it, I just had this moment and played around with a little bit, but nothing's permanent. I don't want that to be that bright here. So I'm just going to tone that down and just take it off. But I'm able to show some demos there and be able to kind of give you guys an idea of where I want that to go. So I've gotten a little bit of this neck built up. Now the coolest colors that I love making out of turquoise, this mix really stays pure and beautiful. And the reason why they stay pure and beautiful is because they're both in the core color family. So the magenta and the turquoise, so if I put magenta on here first, I want there to be more turquoise on. I got those two mixed in here. Now I can go and apply that, and it's going to be like a rainbow effect, like watercolor, which I really love. And you're going to get this, you know, purple violet. And I do have to mix more of it and play with it to really get that play on color. So I'm going over the flowers a little bit, and I'm going over some of my work I did, but that's fine. Then I can put the white in, and it's going to do that really pretty, more muted violet that I was kind of after anyway. So I want this part of the neck to be darker. And everything's going to look worse before it looks better. It's just part of the painting process, is that you got to allow it to kind of be in its stage of infancy and know that, you know, it's about the process, about getting and pushing through. And it's really about layering, because layering is key. So the first, you know, initial layer that I do, I'm just blocking in colors. I'm trying to figure my colors out because I don't have it all planned. And then once I get that figured out, I can move forward with a little bit more of a pace. So we're going to work on some hair here. And I'm just trying to pick out which one I think will be easiest to use. I think I'm going to do some of these because these are really highlighted by the light that's coming down, the really bold lighting. And these are going to be in the light because it's going to give this part even more contrast, that it's in the darker areas. So to do that, I'm going to wipe off my wand. I might go to my, I've been kind of working with a warm and a cool wand. It's not really working well for me. I mean, all my wands look pretty dark. I use a lot of them just because, I don't know, I do. I can use one whole wand for the whole thing. Sometimes some are a little lighter, and I think I also have it to memory a little bit. Like, I know this one has a base of burnt sienna in it. So if I'm mixing with it and harmonizing, if I mix hard enough, the burnt sienna will come out. So I'm going to use this one. So I have this basic flow of the hair, and I've really simplified it, because if you want to do hair, it can be as difficult and as simple as you want. So I'm going to show you a little bit of where I can go a little bit more difficult and a little bit more simple. So I'm going to zoom in, and hopefully I remember to zoom out here in just a second here. We'll get this. Okay. Okay, I feel like that's pretty good. All right, so I got you guys a little bit closer. Are we almost at 48 people? That's pretty exciting. Hey, if we beat 52, that'll be my record. So I'm just going to go in here with one of these hair strands, and you can see how I have them broken up a little bit. Now, when I'm working on the hair strands, you want to clump them up to think about dark to light. So each hair strand I'm separating out a little bit, so I have some separation, but I know that down below it's going to be darker, but I also want to have that smooth transition. So I want to bring these two pieces up to the same plane. So like I've talked about here, when we have values, we're going to be working with values, and values are like working on layers of planes. So I try to say this every time, because I think each time it takes more to come in and really understand what I'm saying. This is like a superpower right here, folks. This is a big one. So the value, if I'm bringing something closer to me, it's going to be a lighter value, just like how it is up on, oh, I got to get my thing in right. Just like how this thing is here, that's going to push back farther, and this is going to pull forward. So if you are wanting to really understand value, you're pushing and pulling forward to actually create the dynamic, you know, shadow and light. And so I know that these hair right here is going to be coming closer, and then some of it's going to be going farther away. So I'm just trying to find those blocking out of those values initially. So I can take and bring in a little bit of this burnt sienna tint, or I can use white, but if I don't want it, as much of the saturation to go away, I can bring in this tint. Now the tint is going to help me with my lighting, and then I can show you how you can push back and forward and get kind of a really cool effect if you want to go more detailed with the hair. Now, down here underneath. I have a little bit of some of the body I think I'm going to put right there on this. That might be right in this spot of my drawing. I'm trying to think. Yeah, and then this one comes out with hair. So I got to bring, this hair is connected. See how these two are connected? So I'm tapping into my shadow, burnt sienna, but I already have black in there. So it's going to push my burnt sienna even extra darker. So I want this to be dark because this is down below, but there's also a little bit that's going to be lit out here because it's going to be out in the light. So we're pushing back and forth. And then this is just flowing around. So I'm just getting that flow and getting those values in there. And I'm going to bring up that hair. So you can see how it looks tucked in a little bit. Now, if I go and take the black and just tap a little bit of black on here, I mean, that's even maybe too much. And I can tap this in to where this touches. So where things touch are like tension points. Those tension points can be brought out to a little bit more drama, and you can tap into those tension points. And I'm tapping into that black and I'm tapping into that tension to create more contrast between those two areas. So you can see how it's pushing that hair back on the inside. And then I can bring in the saturation a little bit on that tint. Now, this is where the choices come in. You can do multiple ways with hair. Now, depending on how you want to do it is what you got to figure out on your own, and that takes practice and showing up. So I could go into this hair and I could go two ways. I could keep it dark like it is right here, like you can see right here, and I can bring my light in by loading my edge of my wand. So I'm just loading this edge, and I can do hair this way, you know, by bringing some, let me go into this is a little bit more free flowy type vibe. And I'd have to play back and forth with this. But I like this too, but it does, you know, I'm at a little bit of a weird angle. So it would take some playing back and forth. Now I'm making those little lines, and then that gives me something to work with, like for pushing and pulling values. So then, or I have this one that's developed. I can go two different ways. I can put the dark on my wand on the edge in here, and I can put lines in there that would create more effect of hair. Now that's going to be a little tricky. That's going to take some time. You can go really loose with that. But you can also take a pencil, and I don't know how much I want to go in with. This is my shadow pencil. It is a 175. I love it for creating shadows and doing work like this. So if I wanted to create this whole swirl look, I can put those pieces back in here. And that's going to start breaking up the hair. So now I would like to knock mine down, because that's how it works. With pencils, you're layering. So this is the real key here. Now look, I just made strands of hair. So that can be really exciting, because you're like, oh my gosh, I just made strands of hair. It's pretty easy. And so like I can even go in here. It's all about the patience of the layering. And then I can knock that down. Now, why am I knocking it down? Why do I want to do that? Pastel pencils are all about layering. So you want to get that initial, if you're making fur, if you're, you know, there's other ways to knock this down. Do you have to use your finger? No. If I, you know, let's see, you can see this one here. I can do this one. And let's see what happens when I use a pastel wand. It's going to literally almost like take that off and blend it in, because the PanPastel and the wands don't really work that well together with the pastel pencils, I mean. So let's say that's why I will, you know, tap my finger in there. I don't really have the values of this where I want, but it's going to show you the difference of, you know, it's going to keep that hair in there and make it look more broken up. So you can see how I would definitely want to have most of my values figured out. I have this little spot under here, which I honestly think that's the horse. I need to put the horse's skin there. But you know, sometimes you're putting colors in and you don't really know what it is. And so I can just take and erase it. Now this eraser is a pen eraser. You can use any eraser that you want. I'll erase out some of that shadow too. And that's going to be where we're going to have that horse's skin. I'm going to use a little bit of my turquoise extra dark because it's, you know, and put some black on there. And that's still even a little too bright. But, you know, there's some light peeking through. So, you know, it's not a horrible. I can, you know, put some black in my wand and keep that light peeking through there. So it looks like there's some light there. And then I can take this turquoise and bring it down a little bit into this area so it looks more natural. Hit a little bit of the turquoise shade up here. And then that's going to look like a natural transition. So now that looks like you're looking through the hair, guys. I love that moment. So now I can go and actually bring up some of those values in the hair that I think are going to be hit by the light. So I'm going to go here, tap into some of the tint and the burnt sienna and bring these up. And then I will catch up into chat here. But I want to get some of those brought up. Now you can see how that's doled that out. And that's why I'm going to take some of the saturation of the burnt sienna. So this is an example of the next color up. So if I wanted to bring this value up, instead of putting a tint in there with the tint in the core, there's going to be another color in here. It's going to be like a burnt sienna light or a burnt sienna medium. That is going to help have more vibrancy when you get into the higher keys and the higher levels. It doesn't seem to affect as much when you're going into those shades. Like I would rather have saturation be taken down in there. But when you are going into the higher colors, it can be a little frustrating not having those pure colors. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want to be on that, how bright I want it to be. I kind of want it to go a little bit brighter. So I'm putting color on with the white to see if I can get that a little bit more vibrant. So you're constantly putting some color back in to get that saturation. I know a few people have been asking about that. So I think it's really good to talk about it and to, you know, encourage you guys that it just takes time. So I might even bring up some of those, but when I get into this stage right here, I'm going to show you, like, this can be the simpler version where you can just do the hair and call it good. You don't have to do any more. I could go in with my wand, maybe put some highlights in some spots, but I don't have to flesh it out with a pencil every time. Now, if you like that and you want to explore that, then you can take your pencil and you can start kind of going on the highlighted parts and bringing some of that up. Now, the pencils work the same way where I'm trying to touch just the highlighted spots that I've made and bring those out. And so I'm using like this is a 675, which is the Indian, it's called the French red ochre. And then if I'm dealing with the same thing for saturation, if I go and bring in like let's say I use this pink pencil, the 681, because it's light, I'm bringing it up, but the saturation will go down. So I could go back and forth with that pencil, and it does help if you sharpen things. And then I'll catch up on chat here. But you can see how then I would bring out the highlights of that area, and then I can knock them down and go back and forth with that. And when you knock it down, it makes it a part of the painting and it isn't sitting on top of the paper so much. Let's see. We have a new Michelle. Welcome. So glad that you're here, Michelle. Welcome to the group. We love to have you. So glad that you're here. This is a great community. What did it say? First timer here. It's all fabulous. Well, thank you very much. And Agnes said something. Oh, it's Francine and her together. Okay. Stacy's, yep. Okay. I really like the simpler technique for the mane on this particular horse. See, Karen, you can definitely do what fits for you. And you know what's cool is maybe, I don't have it. I know I'm pulled out, but if I want to go more difficult for, say, in the face here, like right up here, just a second here. We'll talk about that. So let's say we got the whole piece in here. Let's talk about focus, and let's say the rest of the mane goes more simple, and we keep, all of this really chunky and simple, maybe all around here a little more simple. But we could do this area more detailed with this detailed technique, and that would really shine. You can pick a happy medium. It's all what you are excited to spend time on. If you're not excited at all about that, you can just block in the mane and the hair and have it be simple and keep the eye and some of these flowers, other things. It's all where you put the detail in is where your eye is going to go. So one thing I've learned a lot on this whole journey is to not always finish things out. You'll see people, wildlife artists, and a lot of times portrait artists and wildlife artists, they work in a certain way, and they will literally grid out their piece, and they will work from grid to grid to grid, out in a way because they already know they're trying to match the photo exactly. So when you're creating a more holistic piece that's based on your imagination or drawing, you're able to kind of bring up things together and then push and put more detail in some areas like your focal point and let other areas just kind of fade away. So that's my point on that one. Stephanie's here. Welcome. So glad that you're here. She's busy painting boxes. You're welcome for the warm welcome, Michelle. We're glad that you're here. This is a growing community. So is everyone going to get the new PanPastels? I was a bit upset that they broke the philosophy of having 4 lines, tint, core, shadow, and felt a bit unnecessary to have lights and mediums. Well, Agnes, let me like blow your mind a little bit, you guys. Let me take a moment here. So I predicted this a while back, and so far there's only one color that this is not going to work with. But let me show you something. I think what they're going to do, well, this is my plan. So not to get too caught up in talking about the new colors, but let me see if I have my other palette thing down here. Okay, I'm just going to use this. So to get rid of any confusion, I'm going to take out some of the colors. And I'm going to use the red. So the red is the one that it's not going to work with. But let's say you have your, let me do this. Okay. So you got your palette, and we normally go this way with a family. We're normally going this way. But all we have to do is flip our palette, and now it's got 5. And now I can put my whole red family here, and then it's going to fit the medium. Now the red is the only family that I've looked so far. I could be wrong. It's going to have 2 colors here. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But all of the other families are just going to have 5. So you will use your palettes the same with the 5 up. And now I'm going to fit the red light in here. And I'll have to figure out, I probably might take out my red extra dark and then have my, my medium, my light and my medium, and then it's going to be core on all that. Red's the only one that's not going to fit this whole demo I'm doing here. So instead of having your palette this way, you just can move it this way. And they are filling in some major gaps. I'm not getting paid by Golden to say this, but they're filling in some major gaps that I think PanPastel just maybe didn't have the full, maybe they didn't have as many artists in there using them, but there is some gaps of vibrancies that are missing that they're going to be filling. So I hope this whole philosophy, so I'm going to be doing a video on the whole thing when it comes out to kind of show that and talk about it even more. But you're going to see how they're going to fit. Now I have to tie my shoe. My shoe's untied, and I'm going to get a drink of water, and then we'll work on some more of that hair. And yep, that's really hard that they don't, I think they're coming to New Zealand. Someone was talking about that, that they might have New Zealand. So I think that there will be New Zealand, there'll be some places in New Zealand that you can get PanPastel. I think if you go on PanPastel's website, you can get a locator to find out what stores are in what places outside of the US, because they're not all US based. So I think you'll be able to get the other colors. Okay. I know, I wish it was easy for everybody too. I think it'll be easy once they get going and all of that. It'll be a little bit better. Hi, Stephanie, I missed a few weeks. Well, I'm glad to have you guys all here today. So this has been great. So I'm still a little, I think this spot, I'm going to fix my lighting here real quick. Okay. So I'm going to work on bringing up a few more of the hair so you can see how much light and shadow can really play a role into making your work look more dynamic. And let me get this set up where I feel like I'm doing good here. So I need to zoom it in to just a sec. All right. Okay. So this is one of those moments that I really wish I had a before and after. But even if you go and scrub and come back and watch it again, you're going to see how just putting this lights in right here are extremely powerful, and how we've actually raised up the hair to come out because we've put it on a plane that's lighter. So this hair has actually been lifted up because the background's a little bit darker, and we've used light and shadow to really sculpt that and bring it out. So we're going in here and it's doing the same thing. And down here we have a shadow. So I'm going to play with that here, and we are going to, really focus on how that can really pop your artwork. So the light's going to be hitting this whole mane in here all throughout. So I'm going to kind of bring up some of these spots in here and just get a few of them. We're going to be mostly focused on this area right now, and then we'll work a little bit more on some of the horse. Hi, Lynn. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Yeah, I'm sure you do want it at the discount price, but they're having a sale. Maybe they'll have a sale on some shops there. So I'm going to go in and bring up some of these, and I'm going to get my the one I showed you there is, I just kind of went in with some of those lines. So I want to get my saturation and my values up first before I go in and bring in the details. And when I bring up those tints, I got to put that saturation in there too along the way, or it will look dull. And we really want this to look like it's raised up off the shadow. I'm going to take the background a little bit here and push it back a little bit darker. And that's going to create some contrast right here. Once I get it up to the right level, because I'm going to put some brighter hair here. Or, well, I guess they have hair. I mean, the mane. Go in with my white here. See here. So I'm looking at my screen and I'm looking at how that value is being brought up. Now the little subtlety between there, you can see that little subtlety that I put in there, and that is, you know, sculpting some of that. Okay, now for this part here, it's going to go a little darker, but I almost want it to blend into the horse's back. So I'm going to put this on a little bit with the burnt sienna. And then I'm going to transition it into having a little bit of the turquoise in there. I'm going to use the shade. And I'm going to have it combo here. I want this little hair to kind of blend into the body. And I can put some details in that, but a little bit of dark in here. So I'm tapping into the black. So I like to make things blend into each other, make it a part of the, it's a little bit more of like surrealism. I'm not trying to make things look photo perfect. That's not my jam. I like a little bit of realism and a little bit of fantasy and a little dash of wonder. And you know, every, you know, artist, and they have their own style, and as you've seen, it's taken me a long time to get my own style and my own, you know, what gets me fueled and what gets me going. And it's very vulnerable to be able to share all that with you guys. So, you know, I'm excited to have you guys here on all this journey, but you know, it's taken time to figure out what I like and what I don't like and all of that. And it just takes showing up and kind of figuring out what brings you joy. So I have this good base already with the colors of the base colors of the hair. And now I can just go and start tapping in some of the light in the areas. Now, I want to put a little bit of detail that the hair is coming up, like let me show you. This is what I'm thinking. Now I have my dowel here. I like to use this with certain things, but so let's just go to one spot that I feel like I kind of have a little bit. So here I want there to be like how even there's a person with a scalp, that there is some hair going up where it begins and where it ends. So I'm using that shadow pencil. And then I can tap that in there. I personally like that little detail, and I can push that back and forth. I can even use a black pencil. They don't come in trays, Chris. They will, you have to buy the trays separate. Let's see. Chris, I think you have to get the, yeah, okay, someone's already answered it. Oh, Jonas is here. Welcome, Jonas. So glad that you're here. Yeah, I just added my trays on. I have, you know, a coupon code for Dawn VS at Merry Artists, and so I ordered my trays through Merry Artists. So I can go up here in the main and put, you know, even use my black pastel and just get some of the main in here. Just a little bit started. And I can sharpen this if I want to create more detail or keep it loose. It all just depends. I'm trying to get a little bit of that in there because I like it. So if you don't like this part, you can just keep it solid. I don't think I have any more that comes straight off the... So it can be as detailed or as, you know, basic as you want it to be. So I got some of those in there. I'm going to put some details in the top here. So I'm going to go in, and I think where I'm going to really put some focus is right here with a lot of details too, and I'll block in the more. So let me get the rest of these blocked in where I bring up the values, what I'm thinking. Yes, I was actually inspired by the Michelangelo and Caravaggio. I can't say his name. Because I went to all the museums and got to see a lot of work and sculptures, and I thought that would be a lot of fun. And the chiaroscuro lighting, which is, I think it's French, and chiaro is light and scuro is shadow. That is a lot of the style that those masters used back in the Renaissance. And it's dramatic lighting. I'm all into the drama when it comes to like the art with the light and the shadows. That gets me excited. So you have to find what things get you exciting and then do more of it, you know. It almost doesn't really matter what the subject is anymore. It's just, you know, breaking down the light and the shadow is what that's becoming for me. Because if this was a woman's hair, this is what I could be doing on her hair. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not stuck on what subject it is if it's a horse. I'm not out to make a realistic photo of a horse. I want it to be whimsical and magical. Okay. Now, when I use this wand, I really love using the wand because it really can loosen you up. If I was going in really tight, then this would start looking really tight. So it really helps kind of give a more painterly, and when I use the word painterly, I'm meaning like looser style. So you can see how that's starting to bring out a lot of that light and shadow that I was talking about. And I'm still just working and plugging along here. This spot I want to bring up just a hair. And you'll start to see really subtleties and values, and if you can step back and just take a moment and look at it, you can see that sometimes you don't have to do as much as you think. PanPastel is magical in just the ease that it takes to get, you know, value subtleties in it, you know. So I know this is a little bit closer, so I'm trying to look through my monitor here and see. I might even touch a little bit of, you know, some of my turquoise in here just to kind of bring it into the piece a little bit. And that's color harmony. So if you're wanting to create some color harmony, you can have those little touches of that brought in, and that's going to, you know, bring the piece up here. So let's see, let me catch up with chat here. Oh, a carousel horse. Well, you think those are carved out of wood. So I was kind of going off that, but I didn't even think carousel horse sounds really cool. I love that. Oh, hey, Martha's here. Hi, Martha. I don't remember how much I just kind of threw 3 of them in my cart. I think they're like $12, $13. I don't remember. Hi, all. You're watching from your treadmill. You love the horse. Well, thank you so much. I just got a treadmill after Christmas. We bought a used one off Craigslist, and I love it. I can watch shows and everything while I get my walks in 'cause it's so cold here. Thank you, Michelle. Kez is here. Welcome, Kez. Good morning. I'm glad you like the horse. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of water here and step back and look at what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to go in. I got quite a few of these done. I'm going to, I think I'll just go in here and really bring out this section right here and give you another demo with that. And then I'm also going to bring out the contrast here. So if we have a lot of light up here, like say this is, let me get the rest of my light up here. So up on the top here is where we're going to bring some more light in, because that light's coming all down up here, the dramatic lighting. So we're going to hit the rim of things, like of where that would hit. Yeah, so just these subtle little moments can really bring out quite a bit. Now you can see how the top is starting to not have as much saturation in it. So I can fix that by just tapping in some of that burnt sienna into the highlight area and going back and forth. So a lot of this is a dance. You just don't get it the first, you know, moment there. You got to go back. Now wiping off my wand so I can blend some of these areas right here. I'll wipe off my wand And then, you know, I can go in with the pencil and put some of the details. So I'm going to get my highlights and my values in first in this section before I go in and start putting in details. So that's what our goals are, is just getting those values taken care of. I'm going to bring up a little bit of this down below here. And then we'll be able to take a pencil, so we leave some of these spots here, and when I have this more finished, I'll be able to put some lines in there and of the main hairs that are more free. But I just got to get a little bit more white in here so you can see how I'm using that light and shadow by bringing the tint up. And I'm going in between the tint of burnt sienna and the white. And I can go a little bit more with the lights and details when I also get the pencils out. I want this to look tucked in right there, so I can tab the black a little bit, and that's going to create that essence that those are going into the mane here. So you can see how I'm doing a little dance back and forth right there. And so I feel like I got my values in pretty good. The pencils can do some of that work. So the other thing I want to fix really quick while we're close up before I zoom us in is right here is where that eye is. And I want, this is the bump of the other eye. Now I can take a little bit of that turquoise dark and just put a little bit of shadow right here. Just a subtle, and then I can bring that out by tapping into the white. And showing that that comes up a little bit. The white can, I might need to use my stick here. And that's going to create a division there of the eye. Okay. So we're going to go, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to do a more detailed version of the hair. I've showed you a few different ones, how you can really play and get, you know, figure out what you're into. So we'll zoom in. I think that'll be fun to have it up close. So just a second here. Okay, I think I'm going to keep it right there. Let me go up a little bit higher. There we go. Hopefully you don't get the full top of my head there when I get in there. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so good to be back live, you guys. I missed you guys so much. I mean, I really miss you, and I really was excited about the last demo I did, which was just not for the, because I released the class the last week of January. So I demoed the black PanPastel method, and a few of you, Luis and Susan Thames, has been going all out with that, so that's been really fun to watch. Oh, Jonas, he likes the horse and the colors. It reminds him of a magical horse. Oh, good. I'm glad you missed me. Thank you, Jonas. So glad that you're here. It was nice that you showed up today. Awesome. Okay, so we're close up. And now I'm going to show you more of the details of what we can do. You know, you could leave this just the way it is, guys. If you're newer, and I know quite a few Pastel Insiders are here today, that you can leave it simple. I'm really trying to show both versions for people like that. Now, I do want to show a technique that's kind of interesting with this paper. This is a pen eraser, and you can put shadows into your eraser by, into your piece by just putting some eraser lines in here. Now, I am going to just show you. It works okay, but you can see how you can put some subtle lines in here. You almost have to go over them like twice, but that does work on different things. And if you slice your white eraser up, this one's got a lot on it. The white eraser, this is really a white eraser. It's usually like this one. I just cut them up. You can take and, you know, pull hair out that way too, and it creates a really lovely line. It is a little bit harder on this sample. I think the other way is much easier, and I can just go in and smooth this out. There's nothing that I messed up. There's no messing up with PanPastels, you guys. PanPastel is like the most forgiving medium, and it's very much shed free. It's not super messy or anything like that. It doesn't shed a lot. So you get a lot, you can do a lot with it. I'm going to put some white on my clean wand here and go into these spots real quick. Okay, so I got that. It's a little muddy, but it's okay. I'm going to be going back and forth. So now I have my shadow pencil with my dirty hands, but it is what we do. We're in pastel. I'm going to sharpen this a little bit, and then I get to pick the flow that I want to be for the hair to have, and I can play with that. I'm going really light and kind of following the flow that I have in here. Now I went right into that shadow because that was already a shadow. Now this medium works really well with pastel pencils. I really consider them a must. I suggest getting the Carbothellos as a beginning one, and then buying some open stock. Like this is a Pitt pencil. It's a 175 by Faber-Castell. But the Carbothellos is a great starting set. So I'm just going to go in here. Let me think. I've got my, curve this in. And so you can see how just having the basic flow up here gives me already the prompt of which way my hair is going. So if this is going to go out, and like say this piece is connected to up here, I want that flow to go that way. A lot of things with hair is just figuring out the flow, and you just have to kind of think that through a little bit. And then I like this fun little swirl in here. It doesn't make total sense, but I don't care because I'm the artist and I get to do what I want. So now I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to knock this down. And I'm being really light. I'm going to wipe my finger off. And I just want it to show subtle. And I can also go back and clean up some of them and add some more, because we're going to be pushing back and forth, see? So wherever we have like these super dark parts, like maybe this part is going back a little bit. So what I want you to see is where I'm going with this pencil right now is only where I put down some darks. I'm going back over the spots. I'm not just randomly putting these marks down. I'm looking, but it's really hard when you're newer to see that I'm putting them into that same areas that I initially started with. Now this works with all kinds of hair, you guys. This is not just a horse. So if you like people, this works great with people. And now I'm basically a little committed at this point to work with pencils. So if I have done this, I kind of want to, you know, would want to continue to work with it and get my pencils in here. I'm going to put that dark. That's going to take that out. So you can see how I've knocked that out. Now I want to go take my burnt sienna, which is the 670, and this is the Carbothellos, and I can bring out, I'm looking through my monitor here, and I can bring out that saturation that I kind of lost. Now I'm going over not my shadow spots, but the lighter areas with the pencil. And I can blend that out. So you can see how we're putting that saturation back in. So I have one more step up, which is the Indian red. I think it's called Indian red. French red ochre, sorry. And then your guys are like, well, oh my gosh, her highlights are leaving. But I want to get some color in there. And when I go in with a lighter pencil, it's going to dull that color. So I'm just trying to hit areas that I don't already have a shadow in. So you can see how I brought that up. And now I'm going to go in with my next one. I'm going to use a pencil you probably wouldn't even think of using. But I'm going to use this pink pencil. And it's just got a little bit of color in it. It's not white, white, white. This is the 681. And it is called a light pink tint. And we're going to go in and now bring back those highlights that we took out a little bit. Now, right where those darks, you can see the dark line in there. See that? We got these darks. I'm going to go in the center of that. So I'm leaving the shadow. And then there's magic that's going to happen. And I'm going to go up to that edge where that black line is and bury it a little bit. And now we're going to hit those bright moments. Thanks for all the hearts. So now we've brought those highlights up. And now you're creating hair, you guys. You're creating hair. So this is what people are doing for fur and hair, and you're making some adjustments for different types of fur, but you're basically doing this and you can knock it down, pull it forward, push it back, and you're making hair. So this is really exciting and fun because it's not just a horse you're learning about today. You're going to be able to do this with women's hair. You can do it with anything. So we're getting some skills here today. And these highlights, I can knock them down. And I don't really want to put a lot of like random strands in, but I'll show you a couple just so you can see. But I'm going to be going back and forth, and I have to get a lighter pencil. But like if I wanted to put a few, you know, lighter strands in here to where it's not just so, you know, chunky, and then I can go back and highlight those strands. Okay, so all in here, I can pull out some of those, you know, details too. So if I just want this section to have all that detail, then that is, you know, my choice, and I can choose not to put detail in the rest of the piece. You don't have to go through and methodically put this in everywhere. You know, we're all going to get tired of doing hair, you know, I mean, so you can see how I can loosen up. I don't have to be as tight. It really all depends on value and getting your values in there. And the light and shadow is what we're playing with. So if I really want, like I have a couple spots in here before I pan back out and maybe work on another little area. I have a couple spots I can put some white in and really bring out some of these spots. And so this is where I'd want to really get that white in. I even have right here. So we're dealing with where this is a design thing. We have a lot of contrast right here. And we're working with contrast in all of these little areas. This has a lot of contrast between them. So this is a focal point, and we have a lot of contrast between these two. Down here's a focal point, and we're going to have a lot of contrast like right here. And that is going to create, oh, sorry, I went down out of the thing. So I'm going to pan back out so you can see how we've done the close-up with the hair. And that can be really, you know, a lot of fun. So I'm going to zoom back out here, get reset up to be in the full picture. Have to reset up for some of this, so bear with me. Take a little drink, get a little moment. Okay. Got to make sure I'm focused. Okay. There we go. So now you can see how there's different choices for the hair. And I think that allows a lot of like freedom because not everyone is into that. So I'm going to catch up on chat here. Got a great group of you guys all here today. We got a question. That's okay that you're behind. I don't think you're really behind. That's why I released a class last week, and so we didn't do a full, you know, regular live. This is a short month. I have some exciting things. Next week is my year anniversary of live streaming. I'm going to have a free full lesson. It's going to be smaller, but it's just going to be a free lesson for everybody that comes to the live. So there's going to be a line art you're going to get and all of that. We're going to have a celebration. It's going to be a lot of fun to celebrate my 1 year live. Woo woo. I can't even believe it's been a year. And so many of you raise your hand in chat if you've been with me for the year. I think a few of you have. Okay, so I'm gonna, that's really exciting. So I'll be announcing that in Tuesday's newsletter. If you're not on my newsletter, I hope you go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter. And then let me see here real quick. I got a question. Dawn, do you have a technique for removing eraser residue from your painting without having to take off your easel and shaking it into the wastebasket? Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, this is really high tech, Karen. My finger. I basically, like I have some right here. Let me just show you, like if I'm going to erase, there's a spot I did like in here, like, so say I did this leaf and I got eraser residue. It's not that bad. I mean, I will just tap it with my wand, like a blank wand, like wand that doesn't have any color in it. But usually if I massage it enough, it'll come off. I have some right here that I just rub off with my finger and then wipe my finger off. I don't necessarily love to use brushes. I have a couple soft brushes like this, like a soft brush. I don't like to really use brushes in my work. If I need to bring something off, I could do that, but it will catch other pastel. So I don't really love it. If I'm working up here, I could do that, but I also don't like to fluff up the pastel. I don't want to breathe it. So that's one of the reasons why I just kind of use my finger most of the time. That's basically what I do. Or I use the wand, a clean wand if you don't have anything. You know, Jonas, it's so true. I'm glad that, you know, you resonated with that. You know, when you paint, you should know what feels good and what you like, because that is what's most important. And even at, you know, this stage right here, it might look like I'm using a lot of muted colors, but I'll show you an example of how I think and how I might want to play with this a little bit. So, the colors are muted, they're fun, but I'm not done here. Like these are really muted for me. So I'm going to show you, like, I can bring in like a reddish or an orange, and I'm thinking of going more with burnt sienna, but I can bring in a little bit of the orange too. But I'm also thinking about going in with some pinks. Now, if I have a pink, I really love this 131. The pinks are harder to find, and purples with pencils, so I buy anything I can. So this is a really favorite. But I can bring in some pink, and maybe this is a little bit, this is muted, so this is really pretty. And I can start bringing in this pink into some of these areas. And especially like in the flowers. Now, I can bring in also, that probably doesn't look as bright to you guys on the screen. Let me see if my thing, where's my color at? And I'm going to zoom in just a hair. And then maybe you can see my colors a little bit better. Bear with me. So if I want to bring in like the red, and I can make a pink, or I can use a red pencil. I have this 310, which is an orange yellow. So we're kind of playing in the family of, you know, burnt sienna is orange. And I can bring in, you know, this orangey red, and that's going to bring out these flowers in the light like how I have them. And I can play with the lighting by, you know, up here is going to be pretty bright, so your eye is going to go in there. So I want to show you before I go, you know, today, because I don't know how much of the color vibrancy I'm going to be able to bring in, but like just taking this red and bringing it, you know, the values are kind of, you know, a little bit darker on this red, but I'm going to be able to bring that in and boost the saturation of the painting. Now, I would say that my biggest challenge with this painting that I find maybe the hardest is right here on the cheek. Now, this is in shadow, so I really don't want it to be too vibrant. So I'm going to have to play with this a little bit. I might just have to throw that rule out a little bit. And if I went in here with some of these reds, I could even take a darker red and play with that, or even maybe more of an orange red. So what if I use like more of a, this red iron oxide is very close to the, in the red family, the orange red that I'm kind of, because what we're working with is complementary colors here. I do have some violets in there to make it interesting. And, but I think this red iron oxide could be a great addition. So this is where you just start kind of thinking it through. Now that's the shade. Did I just get a super chat? Oh, wait, we got all these hands from the, I didn't acknowledge it. We got to acknowledge that too. Woo! Thank you, Louise. I appreciate that. That is awesome. Thank you so much. And then I got to answer, we got all the people that have raised their hands that have been here for the full year. That's really awesome. I love that. I really appreciate your support. It's been such an amazing journey, and I can't wait to celebrate next week. I'm trying to think of something really fun. I'm thinking about doing something in the ocean, maybe like a seahorse with kelp or something fun like that. I'm starting to kind of get some ideas for ocean things. I'm feeling I got some whale ideas, but for the free one, I got to keep it kind of small. So I'm thinking about that. Peg says she hasn't missed one yet. That's amazing, Peg. You have been here for it. Cameron's been here. Oh, thank you, Jonas. I'm so glad that you like the hair. The hair technique is really a good one. A foundation technique, I'd say, so useful for so much. It's exactly true, Stacy. Thanks again, Louise, for the super chat. Karen says, this horse really reminds me of a carousel horse. I have a very good artist friend who was a carousel horse renovator in Pennsylvania. Her work was phenomenal. Oh, thank you, Karen. I'm liking the carousel vibe. I didn't even think of that. Can we eat cake? Of course you can eat cake. Oh, good. You like the ocean. Oh, good. A mermaid. I was thinking about a mermaid, but I honestly think those can be really hard. I've been playing with some mermaid compositions, and I want a tail in there. So I'll have to play around with that because their faces get small, you guys. I mean, you're dealing with a face that's the size of a fist, and I'm already on like a 12 by 16, and I don't want to go huge. So I'm going to have to play with the mermaid ideas. But I've got a few. I got a sea otter. I got I've played with some mermaids. I got the seahorse. I've got some fish that I thought would be fun, and some koi fish. That was a real fun one I was playing with. And so yeah, I definitely been playing around with some ideas with some under the water sea, and then the whales I was telling you about, and dolphins. I was playing with that. So jellyfish would be fun. That's a great idea. I know, Karen, you've been here for the full haul. That's amazing. Awesome. All right, an octopus. I do have one octopus that I was playing around with. I think that would be fun. So there's so many that I think I'm going to do some more water theme things. So if you like water, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And thank you, Francine. It has been such a great year. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to bring some of the saturation into this piece. And you can see how, you know, it looks really dull, but look at just by putting a few things in here, how I really just made that pop. Like, that's my goal here, is to, like, you have to have this base structure in here to a certain degree, and then you bring in the saturation on top, and that gives you the layer dimension and that shadow and light. You got to build up your shadow and light before you can go and put these final details in, or you would be working against yourself the whole time. And that took me a long time to learn, so be patient with yourself. And, you know, I tell all the new people, I had a few people in my Facebook group that, you know, if you haven't joined that, but to join it, but a few people in my Facebook group that were newer, and I'm like, how many paintings have you made? You know, give yourself time, give yourself patience, and that is huge. You know, you got to give yourself permission to learn. I think that is a big one. Okay, so I'm going to go in here, and what color I've added is I've added the red iron oxide. Now, I have a couple of them. The dark goes almost into a brown. This is the core right here. I'm pointing to it up in the screen. And then you have the shade. So this pencil is, all of these things start working harmoniously together. So this is a 310. This is a red-orange pencil. This red-orange pencil is going to be, you know, very much on the end of red iron oxide. It's going to work really well with that because what we're putting in on up here. So I'm going to go in. Yes, patience is the key, Jonas. Seriously. And you're showing up quite a bit, Jonas. I saw your recent paintings. He does amazing portrait work, like all kinds of different stars. And I think you did a... Tell me who your last one was again, who you painted, Jonas. I'm blank on the name, but so I'm going to go in and play around with this because this is in shadow. So if this is in shadow, I don't want it to be as bright as this up here. So I have to play around with that a little bit, and I want to have it be warm. So I'm going to go in with my red iron oxide, and I'm going to put that in here. And I think that might be some of my answer here. And that's going to keep it in shadow, but also give it the vibe I'm after. Now, here's the difference. If I use the pencil, look how bright the pencil is. I mean, yes, I love that, but that cheek of the horse needs to be in shadow to a certain degree. I might change my mind because I am the artist, but at this point, I need to keep it in shadow, so I don't want it to be too bright. And you know, it's hard to have a warm thing in the shadow, but the flower is this color, so I could even put some violets in it. Let's see if I put a little bit of the violet, you know, the magenta extra dark in the flower with it to kind of cool it down a little bit, but to also keep that warm. And it might harmonize it together here and it might look really good. And it's something you wouldn't necessarily think to do. But since we're in the shadow, I think tying both of these together is going to look really more intentional. Yeah, it's going to make the cheek go even a little bit more. Now I'm kind of liking that so much, I might tone down a few of these and put a little bit more of the magenta in here. So I'm just using a little edge of an eraser. This is a good spot for you, Karen. I'm erasing and I'm not going to tap it off. So you're going to see, I think I want to tie in more of that magenta and see what that feels like with the red. And now I have all that eraser marks on here. I'm just going to use my finger and wiggle it. And then my tool will do the rest. Oh, I love the stickers, Luis. That's fun. Oh, Peter and Andre. That's who it was. Yeah, I didn't know the name, but you did such a great job. I know, right? He does amazing work. I'm sure it takes a long time to do some of his work. Okay, so I've erased some of that out. And now I'm going to really show you, you know, like I don't always have it all figured out, and that's okay. I know that can be a little harder as a student sometimes, but these Pastel Insider lessons / lives, you're a little bit more on my leading edge. And that's what's really cool, because when you're a Pastel Insider, you also get full access to all of my core, you know, my lessons, my full-on core classes. So you get to go in there and even have more of a deep dive. So I'm going to go in here and put in that magenta extra dark. And then I'm going to put some of that into the cheek. And it's going to bring those two planes up together to where it's more like a tattoo. That was my goal initially. So... and the flower will be a little bit more subdued. And that's our goal. You know, it's fun to have all the flowers be like, oh, they're all bright and pretty and they're popping off the page, but I've spent a lot of time making this dark in here. So I have to, you know, restrain myself from wanting to go brighter right there. So I just tapped into my black, and I'm going to, you know, ground this a little bit with some dark tension in the spots where the petals connect. Now I could use a pencil here if this was too much. If you want to use a pencil, use a pencil. I will probably go back with that. And so you can see how I've created a little bit more of a toned down version. And now I can go on and I can keep layering. You know, it's not over. And this is going to play off some of this bounce lighting that I have throughout the piece with the burnt sienna. Like I have some throughout, and you're trying to harmonize that in. Thanks for the hearts. Let's see. Yeah, that is a long time for your work. Oh, 5 hours a day, I could see that. I love how you've darkened the cheek, but it's a bit more detailed. I like it just enough. Yeah, it's playing with that happy balance. So I have to kind of like maybe move away from it and work on some of these other little spots here. So I'm going to go take this red iron oxide and put some of these leaves in here. Oh, we only have a few more minutes. I can't believe it. And so now I can put these touches, and you can see how I'm not all, you know, wound up super tight with the, this wand really lets me just be a lot more painterly, and I don't have to get all up and close. Now, if I'm not feeling as confident, I can take my dowel and I can load this and I can choke up on the wand and I can still, you know, do those moments in there. So if you don't feel as confident, you can definitely get tighter with the wand. Now, I like to show this to people, but the wand is very much versatile in the sense of like, oh, I don't have one with me, but the app, oh, here's one, just a second. I think I got one, yep. So when I started out, I was using these applicators all the time. And talk about being up close, but these are way better than the dollar stores. The soft tools are worth it, and they really are, but I was up really close like this with the soft tools. Now, I worked like that for quite a few years, and then I said, if I want my work to loosen up, just like with painting, you gotta like get a bigger tool. But look at this. This tool is definitely the same size at the tip as that tool. So now I get not just the tip the same, but I get all of this workspace is what I get to use. Best thing I have learned following your tutorials is my control over the wand tools. I would have never thought it possible. Oh, that's great news, Stephanie. Okay, so I'm going in, I'm popping in some of this color. This red iron oxide is just magic. I didn't really use it a lot at first, and then I started using it more, and I just love it so much. And I could go in and bring in some of the saturation in some of these spots too, and really, you know, bring out that glow that I'm after. Just tapping it into a few spots can be really impactful. But it's gonna, you know, I do feel like this spot's a little muddy right here. I'm gonna play around with it. But it is in shadow, so it's just getting used to it. And then I have this spot where I can clear this up a little bit. I think having it be a little bit more rounded with some dark. Might have put a little too much on there. And then maybe I'll bring in a little bit of the turquoise shade. Yeah, that's starting to kind of round it out a little bit more. Right here is a little bit dark. I'll put that turquoise shade here too. But you'll see just that subtle thing will bring that cheek up even more. So I have to be real subtle about it. It's pretty amazing what you can do. Let's step back and look at it. I'm really pleased with the change in the green. I really love the greens more now. I can even put a little bit of that turquoise in some of these leaves. That one should be darker. I'm going to tap that with black. This whole petal should be darker. And then once I get like dark on my wand, I can go around and hit other things. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to bury some of that black line there. So you can see these black lines, they pop out and they become really strong. And I need to bring the planes up or they'll look like they're floating on the skin or the fur. And so I'll play around with that and try to get them to where I want. Just kind of merging those two. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to pop this up here as bright. And I'm going to bring in a little bit of, let me see what this looks like. I feel like that little transition there I got to play with. Like, so I'll play around with these transitions of the hair with the neck there. So yeah, I'm really excited about next week to celebrate with all of you guys. I wouldn't be here without you. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So tell all your friends to come. Okay. So I still have quite a bit of work in the mane and all of that. So I think before I go, what I'm going to show you is just some contrast of like how I'm going to work on bringing out the head even more in the piece. And a lot of that is just creating, you know, even up here, creating contrast of dark. Like I'm going to keep this pretty dark up here, but I also want to bring a little bit of clouds up into here. So I'm going to use a darker burnt sienna and just map in a little bit of that. And put a little bit of black in there. And so when I roll that to go dark right here, it's going to create contrast. And then it's going to look like it's glowing from behind. So if I want that, you know, light, I'm just tapping off, I see some black in there. If I want that light to come through like it's the horses, there's clouds back there and there's a sky, I got to have a little bit of glow peeking in throughout over here. And that's what I'm going to put in. Oh, well, take care, Francine. So glad that you were able to be here. I look forward to having you at the celebration too. Oh, Susie's here. Hi, Susie. Welcome. Oh, you have a snow day in Southern Oregon. Wow. We're expecting snow tomorrow. Take care, Francine. Hope you have a great day. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the light here just a little bit. I got a -3 here. There we go. Yeah. So now I'm going to bring, before we go, I have a couple more minutes. So if you guys have any questions, this would be a great time to ask. I always love to answer your questions. That's what this is for. I'm going to tap in a little bit of bright. Okay, so that contrast right here with value, you know, light and light and shadow, we're creating where there's going to be some contrast right here, because this is the darkest part on the back of the horse. If the light's coming down, I'm going to put some light on here on these guys. I'm not done with them yet. And then that's going to go pretty dark. So right behind here, we want this to look like there's a little bit of a glow. And I'll have to kind of go back and forth with that. I'm looking through my camera. Want to have it a little more saturation. Go with a little bit darker here. And so see, now you're going to see that little bit of a glow there, and I can tone that down or bring it out. So it's not set in stone. Oh, Michelle, thanks for cheering everyone on. 5 inches of snow, Susie. That's a lot of snow. Wow. So you guys can see how I got that glow now coming out, and then that's gonna, what that does is, what contrast does for you is it makes these decisions of having shadow and light more dramatic. And now I'm all about drama. I want the drama. So to really create a dynamic where your eye, brings out even more. So if I want to bring this nose out and make it even more dramatic, I go darker with this area. And so that's why I'm going to go lighter here, because I got my, muzzle here. And I can use some of the tint. And that is going to be a little bit lighter there. And then you're going to get more contrast, more drama where those dark parts are. And I want to slowly build that up, because I can put some clouds in here and just start, having, clouds, which that's my goal, but it takes a little bit to build that up. So you can see how that's going to be more drama right there, because I'm all about the drama. Okay. Fun drama. I like good drama, drama that is, high vibe. I'm all into high five drama. Okay, you guys, any more questions before we go? I can't believe it's 3:30, it's 3:27, right, already. And I hope that you got some inspiration on how contrast and, light and shadow, that's that whole chiaroscuro, the French word for the light and the shadow. I think that is something that can really elevate your artwork by really starting to pay more attention to the light and the shadow. And, if you have things that you're interested in learning, you can even dramatize that. You can bring it out and exaggerate it. That's what I like to do, and I think that really creates an eye-catching piece. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Stacy. And like I said, this is oh, thank you, Dawn, for the awesome light and shadow chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro. I had to write it down and abbreviate it and get in practice. But and remember, if you're interested in becoming a Pastel Insider, I put the link in here. You get the full lesson. I have probably another couple hours on this piece, so I will definitely share it during the next live. Excuse my dog in the background. I'll share the finished piece in the next live, so you'll be able to see it. If I don't do it, remind me, and you can see where it's gone. And then I post all my finished pieces on Instagram and Facebook. But I have some exciting news before I go. I am going to be doing a solo show with Stephanie Gago's auction on Facebook on March 31st. So if you are wanting to collect any of my art or check it out, or you just come and support me, I'll have that link in my newsletter also. So I'm going to have a lot of my painting. I'll have 35 paintings in the show. I have been producing, I think this year I've produced over probably 45 or 50 paintings this year. So it's definitely been a journey. Let's see here. Oh, Chris had a question. Let me see. How important is the lighting in the studio? Oh, that's a great question. I am in search of a new light for my studio, but like I can tell you just for this live, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 lights plus my lighting in the thing. Now I'm going to show you, I have a, I can show this to you another time, but I have like my overhead light. This is my light for my easel. It is a full spectrum light that is for, you know, it simulates natural lighting. I think it's really important to have good lighting in your studio. The one thing I don't like about this is it's not dimmable. I'm hoping to find a dimmable light that is full spectrum, and I think it can really make or break your studio experience because lighting is huge. So yeah, I definitely think lighting is important. That's a great question, Chris. Let's see, is there any other, did I miss anything else? Thanks for helping me with that. Sonny does not love the camera. The poor guy is like, I try to give him here to say hi to you guys and he puts his face away like that. So our daylight, oh, now he's coming to prove me wrong. You want to say hi? Okay. Are daylight bulbs good? You know, you can try them out, but I did buy some bulbs that had like, they were full spectrum. I think that's a little bit different than daylight. So, you know, what happens is that the one thing is PanPastel on your easel will look a lot brighter than when you go take it off. And some of it has to do with lighting. When you take a photo of it, the contrast, your camera automatically does contrast stuff. So I would just try to get a full spectrum light if you can. There are those ones that are, you can clip them on and they're like craft lights. I had one of those clipped above my easel for a long time and it is a full spectrum. I don't remember the name of them. Michael's has them, like a craft store. So that can be, that can help you. Let's see. Bye, Michelle. She's taken off. Just what got in. What? Oh, I'm just leaving Pin Full Life. I'm just leaving. You can look in the description below and you can rewatch this replay when I'm done. But I'm working with PanPastels and pastel pencils. It's all soft pastel. So you can definitely rewatch the replay. The OttLight. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So you can get OttLights. Those will be really helpful. Sonny, you gonna say hi? There he is. So little scruff monster. He has a little mohawk. Check him out. All right, you guys, I'm gonna take off. It's been such a great day. So glad that you're here. I'm always doing live streaming every Tuesday on YouTube from 1:30 to 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. So you guys, you've been awesome. I'll see you here next week for the free live event. We're gonna be celebrating 1 year. All right, you guys, you take care. Bye.